Welcome to Get on the Ark. My name is Darren Conrad, your host. For those of you that don't know who we are, this show is about how God is doing extraordinary and miraculous things in ordinary people's lives. There's a storm coming, a spiritual storm with dark days ahead for all of humanity. And just as God warned Noah to build an ark to save his family from the coming flood, all across the globe, God is calling his people out of darkness and out of complacency and into a relationship with Jesus to save us from the storm that is coming to our generation. So welcome to Get on the Ark. It is an honor to have Dr. Randi Shannon here today. Best-selling author, multiple books, and a naturopath doctor, and just an amazing woman that knows how to heal and help people become healthy or stay healthy and live longer, healthier lives, right?
Nothing better than that, really. Not too much anyway. I love my career. So great to be back with you, Darren. We met several years ago. It seems like now I don't even know what year it was at this point, but you're just always such a joy when you pop into my life. And I'm just super happy to be here with you and your audience.
Thank you. Well, yeah, we met at the Reawaken tour in Selma, North Carolina.
Okay, that's where it was. Okay. Yeah. That was such a great event.
Yeah.
So many amazing people there, so many incredible speakers, and just people that love America and love the Lord.
Yes.
Such a great environment.
So share a little bit about your journey. Like, when did you start following God, and how did your path of faith go?
Well, it was interesting because my grandfather was a pastor. And so I grew up with it, basically like snippets of it. You know, he would read the word. I remember one time being very, very sick as a child, and I was at his house and visiting him because he always had a farm. So we would go stay for 2-3 weeks at a time. And he had lots of kids. He had fathered 13 kids. And then his first wife passed away, and he married again and had 2 more kids. And so, just in life, ultimately, there was 2 that were kind of adopted into the family. So it was a big household. There was a lot of people, and my mom was one of them. And, of course, her and my dad moved away. So when I got to see my grandfather, it was in visits. And I so vividly remember I had this extremely high fever, like the kind that somebody would normally take you to a hospital. And I was just sweating up a storm, and I was in and out of awake, asleep. And I was probably, because memories, you're a little kid. I'm going to say I must have been around 4 is a guess. And he prayed vigil over me the entire night. And I kept waking up to him reading the scripture. I would wake up, and there he was, hovered over me, reading the scripture. And by morning, fever gone, no hospital visit, no doctor involved. So I think that was probably pretty pivotal. They grew all their own food. They milked, I feel like we milked goats, because I know I could not stand the taste of the goat milk. So throughout life, he was in and out. And of course, we all go through those stages where you're a little bit of a wild child. And my grandfather always told me, it's those times that make you what you are. Like, what you don't want to be, what you want to steer your kids away from, all of that kind of stuff. And then just one day he was visiting, and I had just had my second son. And we just had this conversation, and he's basically like, don't you think it's about time? And so I did. I gave my life to Christ then. And, it's not like a perfect walk, but you definitely think twice about things. Yeah. And I've totally implemented that into my career. I pray for my clients. I'm still not a perfect person, but, I just do my best to live a really good, clean life. And impart, like, anything I do for my clients, I look at them as, okay, how would I treat myself if I had, let's say, a cancer or an autoimmune or a kidney issue or a diabetic or a blood pressure type of issue, what would I do for me? Not what's the protocol, what was I taught in school, but what would I do for me that I've learned along the way that actually works? And that's what I implement with my clients. So, and in every report that I do for every single client, there's a paragraph that says that I pray for you.
Yes.
So clients do love that, knowing that they have somebody who is actually grounded. Probably some, it rubs them the wrong way, but it's still in every report regardless.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So what took you to the path of medicine? Like what made you want to become a doctor?
I can't say it was like anything that my mom did, because my mom was kind of typical in the sense of peeled all the carrots, peeled all the apples, took away like the good sustenance. And I asked her one day, Mom, why did we peel all the carrots? Because there's so much nutrient on the outer shell. She's like, I don't know. It's what my mom did, So it wasn't that. It was more when I started to have my own kids, there was just something in me that said, eat perfect, eat as perfect as you can. And so, I'm 58 now, and my first son was born in 1989. So it wasn't like organic was a word that was really being tossed around too much. And if it was like probably some weird thing with vegans, and I don't know, like it just wasn't really, like normal banter. But when I saw all the vaccines, that's what really just, I feel bad more so for my first son, but I've definitely done things to detox him. But, he was the one who did get the shots. And the one at 18 months, he did have the screaming, and that's the one where they do get autism. Thank God he's not autistic. Some days we laugh at him, but, because of his, sometimes he behaves that way a little bit, but we just joke with him. But no, he's not. Thank God we made it past that. But the doctors did tell me, give him Tylenol, which we now know breaks the blood-brain barrier and helps to push that autism. So as I saw the vaccines just becoming more and more, I think the one that hit me the hardest was when they came out with the chickenpox one. And I was like, every kid should just have the chickenpox. What's the big deal? And it was really a pivotal moment. And the HPVs and just all these different things. I just said, kids aren't even exposed to these types of STDs. Why? So I had a real issue with those. And so as a young mom, I figured out, okay, we're not in a computerized system. And I don't know that I was really thinking about the computers, but I think it was rumored, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And back then we had just the handwritten cards. The doctors would handwrite them. And I said, I don't want my kids to have these vaccines. And it was an argument with doctors. So I just changed doctors and wrote it in myself. And so I helped my kids to avoid all of those shots. They're all in their late 20s and early 30s now, or, mid 30s. And so what's done is done, they know, and they're all in acceptance, and they're so grateful and thankful. So, I hopped a lot of doctors, and there's nothing wrong with hopping doctors. But that's what I did to get my kids around that. And I argued every shot. Why is this? Why is that? I wasn't, into it as much as saying, like, can I see what's in it? Because we didn't have the internet like we do today, where I could have even really looked all those things up. So, I think these new generations definitely have it way easier when it comes to knowledge, because wow, is it out there?
Yeah. And
people can really make good decisions. But the masses still, unfortunately, still run the wrong way.
Yeah. But so when did you start realizing the solution was what God created and the natural? And then when did you become aware of looking at fingernails and tongues and eyes and looking at the human body to know what they're missing or what they're deficient in?
I think I was around, through the church, I met people that were, way healthier thinking. I was people would think this is weird, but I don't even care. I just noticed that the world was attacking the families. Mm-hmm. Like going through the grocery store line, it would always be basically smut on the magazine. So I was the freaky mom that took the magazines and turned it around so that my sons didn't see that walking through, because I didn't want them to think, well, this is what a real woman is, when everything on the body was fake. All the pictures and everything were airbrushed. And, I just wanted them to know what normal was. So I was already starting to pull my family back. We didn't have alcohol in the house. Of course, nothing bad was allowed on the television. I do get some grief about it now. When Pokemon cards came out, I was that mom that I was fine. We bought them. I didn't pay attention to them. And then the school said, no, these are bad, you need to throw them out. And it was to the whole school. They sent a letter to everybody, and it was a Christian-based school. Now my kids are like, Mom, do you realize some of those cards are 120,000 that you threw out that we had? And I'm like, I kind of laugh about it, because we could have had a lot of money from those, because they're collector's items now. But, I just did what I thought was right. And that's what I was trying to do. And then I was backing up before I, was married and had kids. I was a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, when I was like 18, 19. And I went in every day and I took care of the elderly. And I took vitals, helped them with everything from brushing teeth, dentures, bed cleaning, getting them to the showers. I had that in me to be a caretaker.
Right.
And then fast forward through all of life. And in my 40s, I went back to school and became a naturopathic doctor. And while in school, there's so many modalities that a person can go down. But I fell in love with what I was great at, which was the face, tongue, and fingernail analysis. It just hit me like, wow, it's all right there. I don't need machinery. I don't need multi-million-dollar equipment. I don't need to go into debt. I can actually do this working from home. I don't even have to walk into a clinic. And there's rules all over this country about naturopathic doctors and the forcing of licensure, which I was so glad I did not go the license route. And it was, I literally chose it for a reason to not go that route. Because if you say something that, the bigger system doesn't like, they will take your license away. They can throw you in jail. They can keep you from practicing ever. And so the route I went down was a certified route, but I really went on with my education for years. And I still educate today, but I traveled all over this country. I worked with a doctor of acupuncture who was known for doing the tongue analysis. He's retired now. But, I've worked with the best in this country, and each one had a little piece of what I put together as the whole. And I know from looking at faces, tongues, fingernails, and I've been doing this for years now. I've looked at over 10,000 people. I've stopped counting. All the organs are there. All the systems are there. So I will not diagnose a person with cancer, but I can sure as heck see the signs. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And so, and I always have to be very careful with my words, even at the level that I'm at. So I never say that the body or that I cure anybody. What I do say, however, is that the brain sees what it needs, because we clean up everything in a person. The brain sees that and it goes to work, and then it begins to heal that person.
Yeah.
So it's the body actually heals itself. And that's why my company is called The Body Can, because the body can heal itself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things you mentioned to me when we met is you're like, stop using oils.
Yes.
Seed oils.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I haven't used them since. It's been almost 3 years.
Awesome. That's amazing.
And I'm actually the healthiest I've ever been in my life right now. Like it's unbelievable what natural, healthy food, and I'm not perfect. I eat some of the poison they create every once in a while.
Yeah,
but for the most part, I'm focused on the food. And it really is, you really are what you eat.
You really are what you absorb.
Right.
So if you are eating things that stop your absorption, even what you eat isn't going to get where you want it to go.
Right.
Okay. So it's really what you absorb. And I've been saying that for over 20 years. Because, some of the things on the no list specifically are gluten, and most of the world doesn't understand why. There's a lot of people that are huge influencers, way bigger than anything I do. They've got big mouths and they're out there talking and they tell everybody to go gluten free, but they really don't know why. And the ones who do know, it's because they've heard me say it, or the doctor that I worked with for the last 20 years say it. And it's because the glutens, the gliadins, and the phycopyrines, you never hear anybody talk about those other two because they don't know what they're talking about. They're just regurgitating a semblance of something that they heard. But these are in the wheat, barley, rye, oatmeal, and buckwheat. And they go through the body like a wrecking ball. They're like razor blades, and it's just damaged the whole way down to the small intestine, where we are supposed to have trillions of these grass-like structures called villi. And the villi are our absorbers. So again, you could take all the vitamin C in the world. You could eat all the oranges. You could swim in oranges. You could fill your house with oranges. And it's not what you ate, it's what you absorbed. So if you don't have those villi, you don't have the absorbers. It'll just go right through. And you never hear all these big influencers say that because they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know the whole story. And I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying I don't like when I talk to different companies, they'll say, well, what's your Instagram numbers? Okay, well, I don't have 1 million or 2 million because I've been a doctor, a naturopathic doctor, not worried about getting influencer numbers.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They're worried about the influencer numbers because they don't have the knowledge. So they'll just steal from everybody. Oh. Okay, but they don't know what they're really saying or why they're saying it. So when those villi are mowed down, it becomes bald in there. And when it's bald, you have nothing to grab. The only thing you'll ever pull into your body at that point is calories. But so number one cause of obesity, I just laid it out right now on your show. They have no villi. The body just takes in calories. And then one day later, they're 300 pounds. Wow. They don't need a gastric sleeve. They don't need all these surgeries. They don't need all the liposuction and all these different, look at all these $1 trillion industries I'm slaughtering right now. Okay. Yeah. They don't need any of that. They just need to get rid of the wheat, barley, rye, oatmeal, and buckwheat, probably build up their body, which, we're very good at helping people do that. And it can even be seen on x-rays. So if somebody's following our program for, say, 6 months and they had needed a hip replacement or a knee replacement, they can see on an x-ray at 6 months that the cartilage regrew in the body. And it's not just from eliminating those things. There is things you have to add to the body. And we do that massively with our clients. So that's just one thing. I could go on and on about that, but that's in the good and bad food list, which people can just get that. They just go to randishannon.com, put in their email. I'm not a spammer. I do send some funny emails out, and my kids had me laughing so hard yesterday because last week we sent an email out, and I will send catchy lines. I'm kind of funny when it comes to my emails and things, and it basically was about the parasites and how they're mating in you. It's true. And going poop and pee. So that was kind of my subject line. I was trying to make sure everybody opened that email because it's true. Yeah. So, so they'll get those kinds of emails, but everything has a purpose. There's no just spam for spam.
And so I know you've written multiple books. The one was a bestseller.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was that book? And then, share it we can get that on Amazon.
Yep. You can get this on Amazon. And okay. That was like my dream when I was a kid. When I was real little, while everyone else was playing, I was reading the entire series of Little House on the Prairie. So I grew up actually wanting to be an author. And so I've written things over the years, and I just had decided this year it's time to just kick them all out and get them up on Amazon. So the children's book I did a few years ago, I think it had been on the market about 1 month, and I got a text message saying, "Hey, your book just became #1 bestseller in multiple categories for a children's book." And that's called Tongue Tales. So Tongue Tales by Randi Shannon on Amazon it shows all these animals, and every one of them has their tongue out. So it's good for like newborns to maybe 9 or 10. It's just cute, it's whimsical, but it's drawing attention to the tongue. And at the end of the book, we tell them to go look in the mirror. So we're starting to make them aware of this one body part that's so incredible and is going to tell your life story throughout, your cycle of life. It's just like a tree. You cut it in half, you see the rings around the tree, and that tells, was it exposed to fire or pestilence or flood? The tongue is telling us that story as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of them. And then we have one, if all goes well, the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm very excited about this book. And people think, it's silly, there's a million spice books, but nothing like this. It's called The Language of Spices. And I went all the way back to the original Hebrew scriptures for this book. And then those were translated. I never know if I say it right, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. The next was the Greek, which was the Septuagint or Gent. I'm not sure which way you say it. But they basically took Hebrew. And things changed from the Hebrew to the Greek slightly. For example, honeycomb, things like that were mentioned in the original Hebrew somewhere around 85 times. Then in the Greek, if you narrowed it down to just honey, it was about between 50 and 60 times, 55, 65 times. So things changed just slightly. And it was just due to the translation of the words. And then things continued to change. As you know, there's so many versions now. But so we went back and brought out the scriptures of everything that was ever mentioned about spices. Then I wove in it all of my naturopathic take. And because for years I've called myself the Spice Doctor. And then I saw, there's a book called The Spice Doctor, but I'm not going to degrade it, but it's not anything I would have written. So I didn't want to be in competition with that on Amazon. So we went with The Language of Spices because I'm the body language doctor anyway. So it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So I put one recipe for every spice. And then here's one of the parts that I just absolutely love about this book. I'm really not in love with all this AI artwork. And so I have a spice book that's 150 years old that was written by a doctor, and he did his own artwork. So his artwork became public domain, free public domain. And I love his original. It's very authentic, antique Victorian. And so we used his free domain pictures and put them in our book. And my daughter-in-law is an artist. She's like an incredible artist. And I said, can you make me the cover, the back, and the spine for this book? And she did. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Wow. She did that. And so we're just really excited. And that should be, it'll be more of an inexpensive version up on Amazon, but we are going to do 100 limited copies where the pages are all sewn in, the ribbon is sewn in, and they're actually going to be numbered. And that one, Amazon only goes a certain size. So we went to the max size that they would offer, but the limited edition is going to be coffee table size. And I can't tell you how gorgeous it is. And every page as you flip, stunning. and full of information that I guarantee nobody knows.
Wow.
So I'm excited about that.
That's great. When is it coming out?
Hopefully in the next 48 hours. The limited edition, we're going to do pre-sales because for 100 books to pre-print, that's multi-thousands. So we're going to do pre-sale for 30 or 60 days on that one. And that's going to be the real gorgeous, bigger one. But the Amazon one should be about 48 hours up and live.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So give us a couple spices right off the top, like in the language of, or give us some clues.
Yeah. Well, in that original book, we'll go with this one. In that original book, he had a star anise in there, but he actually had the wrong plant. And the one that he had in there was actually toxic and would poison you.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's 150 years old. Not everything was perfect back then. Take nutmeg, for example. Tastes good. People put it in everything. But if you take too much of it, for example, that is going to actually poison you. And of course, there's certain things that animals can't have. So we did weave that in there as well. Because I do like animals to have spices. For example, turmeric is incredibly healing and very important in our daily diet. But for animals, there's just certain ones, and off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of one of them right now, but they can't have it. They cannot have it, and it will poison them, and they will die. So the star anise, we got it perfected in my book. In the original photographs, one of them was actually shaped wrong. And if a chef had looked at my book, he would say, no, I got to discount this book now. So we corrected that. So in the daily, I think that's what you're asking. What's important and why is it important? Cinnamon is a daily in almost every single drink I have.
Wow.
The Ceylon, Ceylon, Ceylon. That is it helps with metabolism. It is one of the key things to regulating out your blood sugar levels. So if you are eating a chocolate bar, you are having a glass of wine, your levels get a little foobarred for a little bit. And so you want to have cinnamon in there. So I take it, if I'm going to go out to dinner and I know I'm going to have a glass of wine, I'll have cinnamon in my drinks beforehand. When I come home, I actually put it back in the drinks again. So if I have a coffee, the cinnamon is in it. I don't care what I have. Cinnamon is important for the rest of your life. Turmeric is another one, should be really high on the list. It's fantastic for inflammation. Even the animals can have that one. It's great for, especially if you have a dog, for example, that is just kind of hobbling around and they're in pain because it has natural painkiller in it. So turmeric is fantastic. And then we also put in there when it needs to be mixed with something. And it's not a law, but there are certain things that make things work better. For example, with my clients, I use a selenium that has 5 cofactors. And those 5 cofactors make that selenium work astounding in the body. Whereas if you just go to like Walgreens, number one, you're probably going to get a Chinese product. And even if it says maybe it's 100 micrograms, there might be 10 and the rest is filler or a synthetic. So I'm super particular about the nutrients that I give to my clients. And I'm super particular about spices and things. They all must be organic. You can't just go and buy. If everybody would stop buying all the garbage, then these companies would have no choice but to go completely organic. But people keep fueling the fire. And so, why did Trump say it was okay for these glyphosate type companies to be spraying? Well, I guess because there's a huge market, people got to stop buying it. They have to stop. Yes. I looked at the numbers, for example, in the state of Iowa, which is one of the highest cancer states in the whole country. They have something like 24 million acres and only 9,000 of them are organic out of 24 million. My numbers could be slightly off. I haven't looked at that for over a year, but That is terrible. And that means everybody, including a huge portion of this audience, are still buying all of that. And they'll make an excuse, but God provides the way. So they'll make an excuse. But organic is expensive. Okay, grow your own. But I don't have the space. Okay, then buy organic. It's a circle and we can keep going around it. You're either going to end up in the hospital and in their care, or you're going to have way better shot by eating clean.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you suggest going to get spices at?
There's good companies out there, Simply Organic. There's some mom and pops. I would just do a search online. Sprouts carries a good line. I don't 100% love Sprouts. I just saw that they are now carrying meatballs that are 100% lab grown from cells of, I believe it was a chicken.
Wow.
So they take the cells and somehow Frankenstein them into a meatball. And by the way, Chick-fil-A is another one that it's rumored. I'm not going to say for sure, but I've seen the videos now where somebody took a bite, which they already are known for having over 50 chemicals in a piece of chicken. So I'm not sure why anybody would buy that, but they're closed on Sunday, right? So that's how people are making excuses. Oh, well, but they're closed on Sunday. They honor the Sabbath. Well, but you're eating lab grown meat potentially, and you're eating it with 50 plus chemicals.
Wow.
So I don't care that they're closed on Sunday. If you're killing the people, you're like talking out one side of your mouth. So
Yes.
people
Wow.
have to take stands. They have to take stands.
Well, God tells us my people perish for a lack of knowledge.
That's right. And I'm given the knowledge here.
Yes.
And I'll put disclaimers in all of it right now. It's all my opinion. Go search for yourself. Okay. So that way nobody gets sued over this or resists.
So you work with clients all over the United States and all over the world, and you can meet them on Zoom.
Yes.
You have a process. It's a real simple process. If somebody wants to get their tongue scanned or their fingernails, it's a streamlined process. So,
it is super simple.
So the best thing they can do if you're watching right now and you're like, I want to get checked and scanned, you can go to randishannon.com.
They can go to randishannon.com. They can go to thebodycan.com. Watch out, because the internet tries to spell check you to something not good, but it's thebodycan.com and /schedule. They can see my programs there. If they have a cancer or something, those are different programs, so they need to reach out. All of my appointments are 100% virtual, meaning you will take your phone and take a picture and you will send it. And you can be anywhere in the world. We just picked up our 22nd country about 3 weeks ago, Uruguay. And we had a father and daughter come on for different health issues. And I was blown away. I'm like, how did you hear about me in Uruguay? And he said, well, I'm a former American and I've been listening to an American show for 16 years and you happen to be on it. So I said, well, that's fantastic. We're on Coast to Coast AM now. But with George Noory, anybody can send me the pictures. I take a look. We put together a program to help reverse their issue. And you've gone through this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you find the program?
So I when I was at the Reawaken tour in North Carolina, and I was talking to this guy, he's like, "Oh my gosh, you have to meet Randi," and he took me right to you. And then I followed the process, and I love, I want to be healthy. I want to, I don't want to grow into the system of keeping me sick and working at the hospitals all the time. I want to have a healthy life. So I go against the world, and it sounds like you've been like that your whole life.
I really have. Mm-hmm.
And what a blessing that God has done that with us. And
it's funny because, when I was a kid, I thought, oh, I'm the black sheep of the family. I've heard that term. It used to get thrown around. I thought, well, I must be that one. So I might have thought it wasn't a good thing at first, but, it's really been an amazing life. And I cannot tell you how much I love my career.
wow.
All the people I get to meet and get them to where they want to be. Natural facelifts, just was on with somebody yesterday. I'll just say his first name, Mario, super great guy. I'm asking him if I can use his pictures because this guy came in the door looking almost like the Walking Dead, and yesterday he is blown away at his results, and he's here for health issues. But I said, Mario, look at your face. The eyelid was laying on the eyeball practically, and now it's like way up, and it's just in a matter of months. You don't need cutting surgery. There's another $1 trillion industry that there's natural aging. We're going to age, but you can certainly fight it naturally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'm excited about your book, The Language of Spices, and which is coming out super soon.
Next 24 hours or so. If anybody wants, to know for sure, I'll probably, if they do go get the good and bad food list, I'm going to do a blast that the book is out and live, so everyone will get that notification.
Well, any final thoughts for the audience? What you'd like to share?
Well, I did. There was a scripture because you asked about pivotal, and I know we're at the end, but the word is, a lot of people will say, oh, but it's kind of boring to read. But no, it's actually fascinating to read. And I was telling you ahead of time, and I sent you a little audio clip that I had heard, and it just is like, and if anybody wants it, they should be reaching out to you to get that clip, because it puts you in awe of just the absolute power and magnificence that God is. And there is something that was super impactful to me many years ago, and it was when I was reading, I want to say it was in First Chronicles, and this little paragraph I'm going to read does not do justice to that whole book. And it was First Chronicle 21:16. Then David lifted his eyes and saw the angel of the Lord standing between the earth and heaven. Okay, so I'm just reading that. But when you read it before that and the whole lead up, and you hear how they're just trembling, and he's as large as like the planets. And it was just an angel, one angel of the Lord hovering. And in the scripture, it talked about how I have to go back and listen or read it because it was many years ago. But I think he had pulled his sword out of the sheath, and he was kind of like holding it, hovering. So like anybody dare make a wrong move.
Yeah.
One angel had the power to take out legions of the enemy. So it's powerful. Go back and read it and spend the time, because when you know that power and who is hovering over and watching us, and he's got those angels, it's crazy and insanely amazing. Like, you shouldn't worry about anything. Turn off the TVs. Like, don't worry. He's got it. Doesn't mean you're not going to suffer, but he's still got it. The end, we win. We know that.
Yes.
So.
Well, Dr. Randi, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for getting on the Ark. Thanks for watching Get on the Ark. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. So we have a live show every day at 5 p.m. Eastern. And what you can do after, you can get involved after watching this episode. Please share this message with someone you know, and someone that you know that needs to hear it. And God loves, He wants us to share where we work, where we live, where we play. So send this out to him and let God do His thing. And the other thing you could do is if you have a story or a testimony you'd like to share, please go to our website, getontheark22.com, and sign up. We'd love to have you on the show and share your testimony. So thank you again, Randi, and thank you for watching. And until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.